Professor Milgram, sis, you gonna sleep with Councilman Tate, huh? Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe. If you are returning to Fiercely V, welcome back. So happy to have you. Thank you so much for tuning into this Power Book 2 review and recap. Today we're going to be looking at Power Book 2 Season 2 Episode 7, and the title of it is Force My Hand. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Of course, while you're here, make sure that you give the video a like and make sure that you subscribe to the tribe so that you don't miss any of my other uploads. You can find all of my Power Book 2 reviews in the Power Book 2 playlist. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Power Book 2 Season 2 Episode 7. So we're basically starting out with Lorenzo and Drew taking care of that guy. I believe his name is Kino. He's the dude that was at Lorenzo's little welcome home dinner, and he was kind of making little smart remarks about not wanting to work with him. So Lorenzo was like, all right, bet, you gotta die. So they're pulling up to get rid of the dude with a little chick. They getting busy or whatever, and Lorenzo, Drew, and one of the other dudes that works with Lorenzo, they pull up on him. They kill the dude. Drew is the one that actually pulls a trigger, and then he goes over to the woman that the dude was smashing and is like, you didn't see nothing. Don't tell nobody that you see nothing, whatever. So he's basically pulling some Ghost episode 1 of Power season 1 type shit where you let the woman go, and then we saw how that worked for Ghost when Maria Suarez showed up 6 seasons later to fucking ruin his life. So in order to stop this from happening, Lorenzo had the other dude shoot the woman. Drew wasn't happy about this because he was like, we were only here to shoot the other guy, but Lorenzo was like, we can't leave no loose ends. We can't have this coming back to you. Based on how Maria Suarez came back to bite Ghost in the ass 6 seasons later, I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, Lorenzo was probably right. It's always funny to me how the characters in Ghost are engaged in this street life, killing people on a regular, robbing people, doing all this shit, but then they want to have this moral compass. Drew, you just bust in here and ended somebody's life, no questions asked, but you want to save this chick. You're a killer, just kill everybody. So at Monet's bar, a lady named Evelyn pulls up on her. Now, Evelyn is the wife of Uncle Frank, and I barely remembered this from the first season, but at one point, Uncle Frank had came back into the family, and Tariq had figured out that he was a rat, and so they ended up killing him. So this woman, Evelyn, she's the wife of Uncle Frank, and she pulls up on Monet at the bar, and she's just like, the last time I talked to Frank, he was coming to surprise y'all, and that nobody has seen him. And, Monet is basically like, look, he was supposed to get a lot of jail time and he miraculously got out. So what's going on with that? So basically Monet is alluding to the fact that he must have snitched and that's probably what happened to him. He probably got some street justice, whatever. And so when the lady Evelyn leaves, she kind of says something a little bit cryptic. She just kind of I hope you never have to, experience this, and, tell Lorenzo to be careful out there. So it was giving very much threat. So I'm just this is gonna come back up for sure. Evelyn, this ain't the last we seen of Evelyn. Somebody is gonna be trying to come for Lorenzo's neck for justice for Uncle Frankie. That's probably gonna come back around. So Tariq meets with Cooper Saxe and Davis. They let him know that there's actually a videotape showing the murder of Detective Ramirez, which, first of all, damn, Kane, how the hell you get on video. But anyway, the video surveillance, you can't really see like a up close shot of the person who killed Ramirez. And basically, you know, they think all black people look alike, so they're saying that this could be you. He actually has an alibi because the night that Ramirez was killed, he was with the partner that Davis used to have, the female lawyer that used to be his partner that he was also smashing. He was actually with her that night. That was the night that she revealed to him that they had a video recording of him at his father's grave admitting to killing him. And so that's his alibi. Of course, can't really use that as an alibi. But immediately he's like, look, I was with such and such that night. And so Davis is like, oh shoot, you know, of course he's not on good terms with her because he was smashing her, but he got a wife and that's the whole thing. So he's just like, you know, I'll go try to talk to her. In the meantime, they're just like, Cooper Saxe is like, I mean, if you didn't do this, like, you know who this is in this video, like, who did it? Of course, Tariq is not gonna snitch. Of course, he knows it's Kane. He's not gonna snitch, it is Kane. And Cooper Saxe is like, I don't understand. If you know, why won't you say, da-da-da? Tariq is like, I don't know. And so once Tariq leaves, Cooper Saxe is just like, I don't understand, if he knows it, why won't he say something? And Davis is just like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand how the streets goes. Like, it's not that he just won't say nothing. He can't. Like, do you think that it wouldn't be easier to just say who did it and avoid jail time? Like, that would be a lot easier, but because of the way the streets work, like, it's gonna be much worse for him if he snitches. So, like, he's just letting Cooper Saxe know, like, you don't understand the streets, which is a little bit annoying to me because it's like, Cooper Saxe, you do understand the streets. Like, you understand, like, you sit on the other side and you act like you don't know how things work out there. Like, you've been working in this environment long enough that you know how it goes. So, like, I don't know why Cooper Saxe is always trying to act like he just don't understand. He don't get it. Like, you know how it works out there, Cooper Saxe. So, Lorenzo and Drew come home after they take care of that dude. Monet is up. She's not happy that Lorenzo had Drew out there in them streets. And she's like, you putting him in danger, da-da-da. They basically have a conversation about the fact that, like, Monet is like, I'm trying to do low risk stuff. That's why, like, having Tariq out at the university doing course correct, that was ideal for her because that was very low risk to her family. Whereas Lorenzo is like, look, we knew what this lifestyle was. We knew it was going to be risk. We out here, like, basically. And so they're just having this back and forth about how, like, Monet is trying to, like, be out of the streets and, like, be on some let's keep the family safe type shit. And Lorenzo is just like, nah, we wildin'. I think that's one of the reasons that Dante was, like, appealing to Monet, because he was approaching her from a mindset of, like, I could, you don't have to be in the streets. You don't have to be in this life. I can keep your kids safe, da-da-da. And, like, I think that's why she, like, low-key wanting to go off with him, because it was like, at least her family could be safe, and, like, ultimately that's what she wants. She doesn't want to be in the life no more. But that's kind of like bullshit to me, though, because Mecca, you in the life too. So, like, when you really think about it, like, it's giving very much Mecca was just, like, saying anything to get her to leave her husband, because you in the same life Lorenzo is in. Like, yeah, you're more secretive about your shit and you're not, like, literally out in these streets. You're, like, behind the scenes and in secret, but you're still in the life. Like, danger is danger. The life is the life. So anyway, that's just a little sidebar. But basically, Lorenzo is like, nah, we out here. We in these streets. This is what we signed up for. And that's that on that. So Tariq and Brayden are at the dorm room. They're looking through that picture album that Brayden stole from his house. And they find a picture in there that is enough for Tariq to take back, to demonize Councilman Sweeney, basically. But Brayden is like, no, you can't take that one, because it's gonna hurt my dad too, because his dad is also in the picture. And Tariq is like, look, this is going to help my case. I need to take this back to Councilman Tate. And Brayden is like, no, like, no means no. Like, I'm not going to set my dad up to be, you know, incriminated in the midst of you trying to take down Councilman Sweeney. And Tariq is just like, I don't understand. You always talk about how much you hate your family, da-da-da. Like, why do you even care? And Brayden is just like, no, take down Councilman Sweeney, but you're not about to take down my dad in the process. Like, I understand. At the end of the day, Tariq is the only person that was like,
I hate you, Dad. I'm about to shoot you.
Just because his dad was trying to keep him from being a drug dealer. Like, even though Brayden, like, dislikes the way his family moves and operates, like, that don't mean he want to see his, like, dad lose everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Tariq is just like, okay. But then, like, 5 seconds later, we see him with Councilman Tate telling Councilman Tate about the photo. And apparently it's a photo of Councilman Sweeney in blackface. And it was a Halloween costume where Councilman Sweeney was basically dressed up as OJ. He was in blackface. And Brayden's dad wasn't in blackface, but he was dressed up as Nicole. So he was just, like, participating in it. So, I mean, even though Brayden's dad wasn't in blackface, like, it's gonna come back on everybody that participated in the picture, because why was y'all cool with this shit? So basically, Councilman Tate is like, okay, but where's the picture? And Tariq is like, look, you know, I can bring you the picture, but Brayden's dad is in the picture, and, you know, you need to make sure that he doesn't get it wrapped up in this. And Councilman Tate is like, first of all, I don't give a about Brayden's dad. Like, you are supposed to be getting me something on Sweeney. That is the only way you are out right now. Like, you need to do what you said you was going to do. Like, I don't care about anything else you're talking about. So we're back in canonical studies class. Tariq is back. The vibe is hella weird because everybody knows that he was, like, accused of murder and da-da-da. And so they're in canonical studies class. They're talking about, like, who has the right to make decisions for other people, and is that ethical, da-da-da. So they're having these whole conversations about that. Lauren is hella salty with Professor Milgram for basically, like, tricking her into wearing that wire and getting Tariq in trouble and stuff. So she's throwing hella, like, subliminals at her throughout the whole entire class and being hella salty towards her throughout the whole class. And they're basically just talking about, you know, is it okay for people to make decisions for other people, like, on the basis of, oh, this is for your own good or whatever. And the conversation comes up about how the university made the decision to allow the police to come and conduct, like, searches of the dorm rooms on behalf of the students, and whether or not that was the right thing to do, whether or not that was ethical. And then one of the girls in class is like, yeah, like, what happened to Lauren when she got called into the police for having drugs in her dorm or whatever? And Tariq is like, hold up, because Tariq didn't know about this. And so after class, Tariq chases after Lauren, and he's like, hey, like, why didn't you tell me that you got roped up, you know, and called in for questioning and stuff about this? And she's just like, I didn't tell you because I just thought everybody knew about it. I just thought you knew. Plus, you broke up with me, so you're not talking to me anyway. So she's being hella salty and irritating towards him. And in the meantime, while they're having this little back and forth, Professor Milgram sees them having this little, you know, argument back and forth, whatever you want to call it, from across the campus. And basically Lauren is just like, look, you broke up with me, I don't need to talk to you about nothing. And she just, like, storms off. So Davis pulls up at a bar to meet the lady lawyer that used to be his partner that he was also smashing, who is also the lady that is basically Tariq's alibi for the night that Ramirez was murdered. And so he pulls up on her. She is not happy to see him, and she's basically just like, look, I mean, if you put me on the stand, what do you want me to say? That Tariq was with me because I was showing him illegal video footage obtained by Cooper Sacks showing him confessing to killing his dad? Like, that doesn't help anybody. So, like, yeah, I'm his alibi, but you gonna have to find something else, because this, like, that's not gonna work. Like, if you put me on the stand, that's what I'm gonna say. And so they have this little back and forth. So back at Davis's office, they're basically letting Tariq know, like, look, yeah, your alibi checks out, but we can't use it because of the nature of it. And plus, you know, she's not really on our side, so we don't want to put her on the stand. We don't really know for sure what she's gonna say. Like, she's not cool with us like that. And so they're basically like, you know, do you have at least an alibi for Jabari's murder? And he's like, yeah, I was at my grandma's house with my sister. Remember, that was the morning that Yasmin had damn near burned the house down. So he's like, yeah, I was over there. And so they're So Saxe is like, we can't put your grandma on stand because y'all not good. You just like took her to court and called her a drunk in court for custody of your sister and stuff. And so Davis suggests that they put Yasmin on the stand. And Tariq is like, no, like, I don't want y'all to put her on the stand. Like, no, she's too young, da da da. And Davis is just basically like, what other choice do we have? So in the meantime, Tariq is like, hey, can y'all take a look at my ex-girlfriend Lauren? Because I just found out that she got called in for questioning by the police, and I think that, it might be more to the story that she's not telling me, whatever. And when he says this, Cooper Saxe is like, what does she look like? And Tariq shows him a picture of her. Remember, Cooper Saxe saw Lauren coming out of his little boo thing's office talking about how she didn't want to testify or whatever. Cooper Saxe, he like clocks that Lauren is the girl that he saw, but he doesn't say anything to Tariq about it. He just kind of plays it off. And then when Tariq leaves, he lets Davis know, like, yeah, she's definitely one of the witnesses that they're going to call to the stand, like, for sure. So at least he told Davis. I didn't think he was going to tell Davis at all because I thought he just like low-key wanted Tariq to go down, but he did let him know what he heard. So Drew and his bae are at their dorm booed up when, surprise surprise, here comes a knock on the door, and it's Detective Whitman. He's trying to ask Everett about the statement he gave in regards to that big fight that happened with Drew and Zeke and everybody at the club. And I'm just like, Detective Whitman, are you still conducting like a sidebar investigation into Zeke? Like, you still on this? So he's asking all these questions. Meanwhile, Drew is like kind of hiding off in the bathroom or whatever. And Everett is just like, I don't have nothing else to say. I don't know anything else, da da da. He gets rid of Detective Whitman. And Drew is just basically like, he'll be back. But the most important thing about this scene is that before Detective Whitman showed up, Everett had mentioned something about Ramirez's badge being found in Tariq's dorm. And that was the first Drew heard of that. So instantly Drew put two and two together, like, wait a minute, Detective Ramirez's badge was found in Tariq's dorm. Like, he know that his brother killed Detective Ramirez. So he's instantly putting two and two together that Kane did this shit. So Mecca is back on his stalker vibes, okay? He pulls up on Zeke, who is just like playing basketball at a random basketball court. And instead of just like pulling up on him and trying to like finesse a conversation, like he immediately pulls up on him like, yeah, one of your feet is bigger than the other, I'm your dad. Like, he did not try to ease into it at all. You can't just spring some information like that on somebody with no, like, you didn't even ease him into it. He's like, I'm your dad. Here's a tattoo proving it. Like, I was just like, whoa, you went from 0 to 100. And apparently, at first, Zeke is just like not really buying it. But once he sees the tattoo, he's kind of like, because a tattoo is like, it's a Ezekiel tattoo, and Mecca is like, this is how you got your name, da da da. And so, he's kind of like, okay, this shit is sounding real or whatever. So Diana is sitting at the house, and Monet comes in the room, and she's like grabbing her purse and like, move out the way, little girl. And she's like having hella attitude with Diana. Like, clearly she is still very upset with her daughter for lots of reasons. And so she's like snatching stuff and grabbing stuff, and she's preparing to go meet with an agent. Her and Zeke are gonna go meet with an agent about his basketball career or whatever. And so Diana is like trying to ask her like what's going on. She's just like giving Diana straight attitude and like, I ain't trying to tell you nothing, da da da. And so Diana ends up saying something about how like, you knew that I wanted to go to Stansfield, and why did you have dad send me to the other university, da da da. And Monet is like, because I told you to stay away from Tariq, so have fun at your other little university. And so as Monet is like reaching for something else, her phone buzzes, and Diana looks at the phone, and the text message that pops up, and it's from, the contact name is D, and it basically says, Nene, we need to talk. about him, or we need to have a discussion about him, or something along those lines. So Diana sees this, and of course, you know, sis is nosy. Sis be out here playing detective. So of course her mind is racing, like, who is D and what is this about? So Professor Milgram is sitting in her office, and I don't know what it was that she was listening to, but whatever it was basically a whole bunch of students, and they were talking about Jabari's first book and how, you know, it was allegedly about his relationship with Professor Milgram. And then they go on to talk about how, yeah, I heard she was still smashing him before he died. And then they're like, yeah, I also heard she was smashing Zeke. And so she's just kind of like sitting in her office listening to this, stressed the hell out, because apparently it's getting around campus that she be getting around campus. And so Councilman Tate ends up coming in. He's upset that he didn't get an invite to the memorial dinner that the university is having in remembrance of Professor Jabari. And so he's upset that he didn't get an invite. Professor Milgram was just like, you didn't even know him. So, I mean, like, you just started working here. Like, you didn't even know him. Like, I mean, it's nothing I can do about you not getting an invite. And so in the midst of them having this conversation, the dean walks in and he's like, I need to speak to Professor Milgram. And so Councilman Tate, he steps out so they can have their conversation, but he's like just still standing outside the door listening. And basically the dean is like, look, I don't know if you should be the one to give the you know, speech or whatever on behalf of Jabari at this dinner, because there's a lot of rumors about you, and, you know, a lot of rumors about you sleeping with XYZ, da-da-da. And so Professor Milgram is like, what the hell? Like, you know, I'm not going to be able to do the speech just because there's some rumors about who I slept with. And so in the midst of them having this conversation, Councilman Tate barges in and he tells the dean, like, oh, this is very sexist and this is very anti-feminist and anti-women. You know, he's putting his little political spin on it to basically change the dean's mind. It works. And the dean is like, you know what? You're right. We don't want anybody to think we're like anti-feminist, whatever. So, you know, never mind. And when the dean leaves, Carrie is like, why did you just help me? Like, what do you want in return? And basically, Councilman Tate wants to be her +1 to this fundraiser. So Monet pulls up to Zeke's dorm. She is pissed off and going off that he missed their meeting with the agent. And she's like, why did you miss our meeting? What's going on? Meanwhile, Zeke is like packing a bag and stuff. He's like, I need to go see my mom. I need to go talk to my mom. This man pulled up on me and said he's my dad, and he said I need to ask my mom, da-da-da. Meanwhile, of course, Monet is his mom, but he doesn't know that. So he's like, he's going to go pull up on the person that he thinks is his mom. And so Monet is like, look, Zeke, I need to tell you something. You know, I know that you'd grown up your whole life thinking your dad was dead. Actually, he's not dead. He's in jail for life. He's going to die in there. And I'm just like, girl, you could have just left it at the lie that you already been telling him his whole life. Now you didn't insert another lie into, like, if you're not going to tell him the truth, just leave the lie at the lie that it is. You adding other lies into the mix. And so she's basically like, whoever that was that came up to you at the basketball court, he's just an opportunist. He knows you about to go to the league. He's just trying to get a ride to the league. Like, you got to be more careful. Like, people are going to be trying to take advantage of you now because you're going to the league, da-da-da. That's all this is. So Monet pulls up on Dante going the fuck off. She's like, why would you pull up on Zeke? We had an agreement. You done rolled up on him, telling him stuff you're not supposed to tell him, da-da-da. And Dante is like, yeah, we did have an agreement that you was going to let me meet him, and you went back on your word, so you forced my hand. You took my opportunity to be in my son's life. Like, I didn't even know I had a son, and now I need to make up for lost time. Like, if you're not gonna make the introduction, then I'm gonna pull up on him myself. And so basically we end up getting the backstory of like what happened between them. And so basically, like, they were 16, they were dealing with each other. Monet ended up getting pregnant, and Dante ended up getting arrested. And so they offered him to go to the military instead of jail, and he took that offer because he didn't know that he had a child on the way. Monet never told him. And so that's how he ended up being gone for so long. And like, he's like, if I would have knew, you know, don't you think I would have made different choices if I would have knew I had a son? Like, if I would have knew I had a family, like, I needed y'all. And Monet is like, well, we don't need you. And she just like storms off. Whole time I'm sitting there like, you kind of do need him, because he's your connect. you just don't know. So Tariq meets up with Tamika. I don't know why Tariq insists on calling this woman all the time. This woman is not even your lawyer. Like, leave this woman alone, okay? Every time you get this woman wrapped up, you don't even be doing the right thing by her. So he calls Tamika and he's like, look, Davis wants to put my little sister on the stand. She's too young. I don't want her to go on the stand. Like, you got to help me. You got to do something to help me. Tamika is basically like, look, I mean, at the end of the day, if you know who committed this murder and it wasn't you, you need to tell them. Like, you're going to get, you're going to do your time. By the time you get out of jail, you're still going to be in your 20s. You're still going to have your whole life ahead of you. And Tariq is just basically like, okay, but then I'm going to be a snitch and my little sister is going to be out here having to fend for herself with me being a snitch, and she's gonna have a target on her back because I'm a snitch, and like just all these things. And he's like, I can't just come clean like that, but I need your help. Like, I don't want my sister to go on the stand or whatever. And so basically Tamika is just letting him know, like, look, these are your options. Like, do what you got to do. Like, the right thing for you to do is to take a deal, do your time, get out, live the rest of your life. If you don't want to do that, I don't know what to tell you. So Drew and Lorenzo pull up to the meeting with Mecca, where Lorenzo's finally going to get the introduction that he's been asking for. It was only supposed to be Lorenzo, but he brought Drew alone unbeknownst to Kane, who is not very happy about that. But either way, him and Mecca meet. Lorenzo basically lets Mecca know, like, look, I need all the work because we're like building our network. We about to take over. We need everything. And so basically him and Mecca come to this agreement that Mecca is going to give him like everything, like all the work that Mecca has, he's going to give it to Lorenzo. Kane is over in the cut rolling his eyes because of course him and Monet wanted to continue like doing course corrects on the side unbeknownst to Lorenzo. But if Lorenzo is getting all the product, they're not going to be able to do that because where are they going to get the product for course correct from? So Kane is over there hot about this, but of course he can't say anything because Lorenzo didn't know that he was going to be still keeping course correct going, and Mecca didn't know that he was going to be doing this behind Lorenzo's back. So they're at the memorial event for Professor Jabari, and Monet pulls up on Lauren and she's just like, look, I saw you talking to Tariq earlier. You need to stay away from him. He's dangerous, da-da-da. Lauren is still salty with her and she's like, look, you don't need to tell me what and what is and isn't dangerous. I wouldn't even been in this mess if it wasn't for you. Like, you tricked me. I don't trust you. Like, get out my face. And Professor Milgram is just like, look, I just, I want you to be safe. Like, you being involved with Tariq at this point is just very dangerous for you. And Lauren is just like, look, Tariq has been through a lot. Like, he's a product of his circumstances. Like, you don't know him. I do. Like, I should have trusted him more, da-da-da. And Milgram is just like, look, I just want you to be safe. And so while they're having this conversation, Lex and Keisha comes up and lets them know that the dean is looking for them because they need to prepare to go up and do their little speech in honor of Jabari Reynolds. In the meantime, we pan over to a table for a group that's attending the event. It's Braden and his family. Of course, they are major donors to the university. They're also alumnus of the university. So they're at the event. They're basically talking about Jabari. They didn't know who he was. The only reason they're at the event is because they're donors and it looks good or whatever. And so Braden is like annoyed with his family. They're just, doing their usual antics or whatever. Braden gets annoyed. He gets up and he walks off. When Braden walks off from the table, Councilman Tate walks up to the table, and at this point he ends up going up to Braden's dad and he's basically letting him know, like, look, there's some information that's about to come out about Councilman Sweeney that's gonna really look good for him, and I just want to warn you because you might be implicated too, and I just wanted to give you the heads up and let you know that, like, if you tell Councilman Sweeney to step down, then I won't release this information, and I'll honor any kickbacks that he had in place while he was in office, but like, you like tell your friend to stand down and to step down from his position. And basically Braden's dad is like, I don't take too kindly to threats. Like, you're not finna blackmail me. And so Councilman Tate walks off and he's like, oh yeah, you don't do blackmail, just blackface. And then he walks off and like, you see the look on Braden's dad's face when he says blackface, and it's like, he's shook. Okay, he is shooketh. whole time Braden is standing over in the cut, and he basically like sees this whole conversation happening. And so at this point, like, he knows that, dang, I told Tariq not to let this information out to implicate my dad, and he did it anyway. So Lauren, light-skinned Keisha, and Professor Milgram are on the stage. They're about to give this speech in honor of Jabari Reynolds. Lauren is introducing Professor Milgram, and Lauren gives the pettiest introduction ever, the shadiest introduction ever. And then Carrie Milgram gets up there to give her speech, and when she gets up there, like, she just notices that everybody in the audience is kind of like whispering about her, and like she knows that they're whispering about like all these rumors about her, and she just like has like a little anxiety attack, and she just runs off the stage. She runs off the stage, she goes to her office, and she's in there, she's having a meltdown, she's crying, and Councilman Tate comes in. And I don't know what I was expecting from Councilman Tate, because you never know what you're going to get from him, but he actually came in, and he was just very, like, reassuring and very vulnerable with her and very helpful to her. And he was just like, look, you know, you think that your career is over, you think that your life is over, whatever, but like, I have been in career ending situations over and over again, and I'm a survivor, and I think you could be a survivor too, and you know, it doesn't have to be the end. And he's like, the whole reason I wanted to go to this event anyway was to talk to one of the alumnus and, you know, try to get him to help me like revive my political career. So like, trust me, like, it's never over. You just have to figure out a new way. And he's just like being very like encouraging and supportive to her, and like giving her this cute pep talk and stuff. And I'm just like, Professor Milgram, you gonna sleep with him, huh? Like, you gonna sleep with him. I thought she was gonna sleep with him right then and there. I ain't even gonna lie, because Carrie Milgram, she don't be wasting no time. She be on some real anytime, any place type of stuff. But she didn't, you know, she was still crying. She was still having her little meltdown. And Councilman Tate didn't do nothing creepy. He didn't try to like take that, you know, vulnerable situation and like slide in there like he be usually trying to do. Like he gave her a little pep talk and little encouraging words, and then he left. And I was like, that was nice. That was nice. I still don't trust Councilman Tate as far as I can throw him, but I think that Carrie Milgram is going to give him the box. And I honestly ain't mad about it, because I remember them Councilman Tate sex scenes from Power Season 6. All right. Anyway, so Lauren pulls up on Reek's dorm. She wants to apologize to him for just basically like not being there for him and not supporting him, you know, when he was basically like at his lowest. And as she's talking to him, you know, he's standing in the door, she's talking to him, and Diana walks up and she's like, oh, my bad, am I interrupting? I'll go. And Tariq is like, nah, Diana, come on in. And he lets Diana in, and he tells Lauren, like, look, my lawyer said I'm not supposed to talk to you, so bye. And like shuts the door in her face. And I was like, dang. But honestly, Lauren, that's what you get. Like, at the end of the day, you were like a key piece of evidence to get him in this mess anyway, to like lead to him getting in this mess anyway. They would have never had the ability to even search his dorm room if you hadn't have been wearing a wire around him to get information. So you are like a key factor in him even being in this situation. And then after all of that, you abandon him when he was on trial for a murder. And it's just like, you don't get to like show up and like be like, you know, my bad, let's be great. Like, no, this man is still on trial for murder, and you do not get to just like come in and out of his life at this point in time. Like, I'm not mad at Tariq for kicking Lauren to the curb. Like, she proved that she is not ready for the lifestyle that Tariq leads. So Diana and Tariq are in the dorm, and they're just talking. Basically, Diana is there to just kind of like, she's like, you know, I just wanted to offer you some support. You know, I know you're going through a lot, da-da-da. At first, Tariq is like, look, what do you want? Because you ain't just here to offer me no support. Like, what do you really want? And Diana's like, no, like, I'm really just here to offer you support, and I just want to talk to you about about what's going on at home. Like, everything's crazy. Like, I thought getting my dad out of jail was going to bring our family closer, but everybody's like it's pulling people further apart. And she's basically, child, she in there spilling all the tea, okay? She's spilling all the family tea. She's like, my mom and my dad are not on the same page. He want to be in the streets. Monet don't want to be in the streets like that no more. And, you know, my dad is trying to get Drew to like be his right hand man, but Drew just wants to be with his boo thing Everest at the end of the day. And, you know, everything's all messed up. And she asked Tariq, she's like, do you know somebody named D that my mom is communicating with? Because remember, she saw that text message. So she's low-key like on her detective shit trying to figure out who D is. And I feel like she's probably going to be the one to find out. So she just like there spilling all the tea to Tariq and just venting to him basically. And so, you know, at the end of it, she's like, you know, my family is finally letting me go to school, but, you know, it's at St. John's. And Tariq is like, you know, that's still a good school, whatever. She's like, yeah, but I wanted to be here with you. And then she makes her little move on Tariq. And she's basically like, you know, the reason my mom didn't want us like dealing with each other was because you were working for us, but Course Correct is shut down, right? And Tariq is like, yeah, sure. Like, it's not. But Tariq is like, yeah, it's shut down. Sure. And so she's like, well, then if that was the issue, then now there's no issue. And so she's like making her little moves on him or whatever. And Tariq is basically like, look, if we're going to do this, you need to make sure that you are sure that this is what you want to do. And we also need to make sure that Monet never finds out about us. And she's like, bet. And so it appears that maybe they smashed. Listen, I ain't mad at Diana for going for what she wants, but at the end of the day, at this point, Tariq St. Patrick done smashed every female on the show except Carrie Milgram. I'm gonna need him to chill, and I'm gonna need there to be some protection being worn. I'm gonna need there to be some clinic visits happening, because at this point, it's giving community penis, okay? Like, Tariq, you don't have to sleep with everybody. At this point, Tariq is just going to sleep with everybody in a 20-mile radius of him. I don't know what his angle is for sleeping with all of them. Maybe he thinks that if I'm sleeping with them, I can control them. But clearly, that isn't a viable strategy, because you were sleeping with Lauren and she still wore a wire and got you roped up. So you might want to revise your strategy if that's your strategy. So Drew is at the house watching TV, and Kane pulls up, and there's obvious tension. He's like snatches the remote from him and is like standing in front of the TV, and Drew is like, man, like, what's up? Like, what's the issue? What's your issue with me? Why was you trying to keep me out the meeting with the Connect? Like, what's the problem? Like, let's squash this right now. And Kane is like, you need to be worried about your little boo thing and his snitching ass, because the police wouldn't have even had your name or Zeke's name or any of us roped up in this if it wasn't for him like giving his original statement from the thing that happened at the club. And so Drew is like, well, what about that badge that was put in Tariq's dorm room, Ramirez's badge? Like, I know that was you, and if I figured it out that easily, then don't you think that the lawyers and stuff are gonna figure it out, and that they're gonna know that it's you, and da-da-da? And Kane is like, look, only thing you need to be worried about is your little snitching ass boyfriend. And so once Kane starts talking mess about the boyfriend, Drew gets up, they start fighting. Lorenzo ends up coming in. He breaks them up or whatever. And Kane ends up yelling out, like, you need to tell Drew that he needs to worry about his boyfriend who's a snitch and da-da-da. And Lorenzo is like, is that true? Is your boyfriend a snitch? Because if it is, you need to take care of him. We don't need no loose ends. And Drew is like, you know, I'll take care of it. And let me remind y'all that I predicted a few episodes back that Boo Thang was gonna have to die and that Drew was gonna do it. Am I right? I guess we'll find out. So we're in a deposition. We've got all the lawyers there, and they're basically talking to Yasmin and just getting her initial statement in regards to like her Tariq's alibi for the night of Jabari's murder. Davis is talking to her first. He's asking her, like, you know, what do you remember the morning that you burnt some bacon up? Was Tariq there? And Yasmin is like, yeah, he was there. He came down when he heard the smoke alarm. He saved me. Like, the night before, we was watching Disney together before he put me to bed. Like, everything's everything. And Davis is like, you know, was it daylight when he came over, or was it nighttime? And she's like, I think it was still daylight. And so sounds good, everything's great. But then Cooper Sack's little boo thing counter questions her, and she's like, okay, well, did you do anything else that night? And Yasmin is like, yeah, me and, grandma went to the store. It was dark when we went to the store. And Cooper Sack's boo thing is like, okay, so was that before or after Tariq came over? And Yasmin is like, I think it was after. And so at that point, now it's a hole in her story, because she's like, okay, well, if y'all went to the store at nighttime and Tariq came over when it was still daylight, then how could it be that he was there after? And like, she's basically like, y'all, clearly this little girl is lying. And so eventually she's like, we can't put her on the stand. Like, she's clearly lying for her brother, like, or she's confused. Like, we can't put her on the stand. And then at that point, Tariq is like, nope, shut this all down. Shut all this shit down. My little sister is not going on the stand. Don't ask her no more questions. We not finna do this. Tamika is in the cut, and she's seeing all this, and like, you could tell that she's like moved by the fact that like Tariq clearly cares more about his sister's well-being than he does about him getting an alibi from her. So Monet and Kane meet up. Kane is basically letting her know, look, the Connect is giving all the weight to Dad. Course correct, that shit is done, because we're not gonna have no weight. Like, all the weight is going to Dad. And so Monet is like, okay, that's not gonna work, because how am I gonna pay Davis to keep our family out of this murder case? Like, I need to still give him $250K more in order for him to like keep our name out of stuff. So like, what are we gonna do? Like, the course correct was how I was gonna get that money. And she's just like, what are you gonna do about it? And I'm just like, you letting Kane loose to figure shit out again. Every time you let Kane loose to figure some shit out on his own, y'all getting some shit. And you ain't learned yet, Monet. You just as silly as him. So Tamika pulls up on Cooper Sack, and she's like, look, I think both of us know that Tariq did not kill this detective, and he's clearly like covering for whoever did. Like, we need to figure out something to help him, because like, we know he's innocent. And she's like, you're his legal counsel, like, you should be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure he's innocent. Cooper Sack don't give a rat's ass about Tariq St. Patrick. He had a vendetta against that whole family since James St. Patrick was out here shaking them every time they tried to take him down. Cooper Sax is like, look, we know for fact he killed his dad. He admitted to it. Like, maybe he didn't do this murder, but maybe this is just, maybe he needed to do the jail time for the murder that he did do, And so he's like not really willing to help. And Tamika is like, look, clearly like, there's still some good left in him. Like, we saw the way he was like, so like, he cared more about his sister than himself in that meeting. Like, we maybe can save him from turning into his dad. Like, and she's basically like, if you can get his little sister out of the system, then that would make him more willing to like snitch on the person who really did it, because that's like his main thing. It's like, he don't want to be a snitch and then go to jail and his sister just be in the system and he's not able to protect her. And so she's like, if we can figure out how to do that, then maybe we can like stop him from going further down this path. Like, she's basically like, we could still like save him from like becoming a monster, basically. Cooper Sax annoys me so much, because it's like, you try to act so much like you're on this moral high ground, but you are this boy's whole lawyer, and you're low-key like halfway working against him most of the time. That in itself is unethical. That in itself is a direct opposition of the moral high ground you think that you're on. I'm sick of him acting like he's so on the side of what is right. No, you're not. You're on the side of whatever you want to happen. Like, any time that you wanted to bend the rules or go against ethics, you did it. Like, ethics never stopped you from getting to the outcome that you wanted to get to. So I'm just like, please stop acting like you're so morally high. You're not. And let me just also say, sidebar, remember when we first met Tamika in season 6 or I think it was season 5 of the original Power, and they had her with that dry ass 1990s Oprah wig, which made her look like 10 years older than she actually is. And ever since like she got fired from that position and she started working in the private sector, like when she came back, like the wig's been laid ever since. Like I just would like to point that out. Like the wigs have been laid ever since. The wig's been wigging. She been looking 10 years younger, and I love that for her. So we see Drew in the car. He's in the cut watching Everett with the blicky in his hand, and I'm like, bro, I knew it. So we see Everett. He's leaving a building. He's like saying bye to some friends or whatever. He starts walking down the street. Drew gets out the car with the blicky, puts a face mask on, and he's like walking behind him. Now, first, how you just walking down a random street with a gun in your hand and a mask on your face and cars just driving by and stuff and nobody? Anyway, he's walking. He's like several feet behind Everett, but he's following him. He has a gun in his hand. He has a mask on his face. And then he gets a text message. And it's a text message from Everett. And it's like, I miss you, babe. What are you doing? And that just stops him in his tracks. And he just stops right there. And, you know, he looks like he's like about to cry. And it's like, it's just clear that he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to harm Everett. He clearly really cares about him very much. But he texts him and he's like, I miss you too. I'm on my way to see you. And I'm just like, are you on your way to see him and still kill him? I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm just like, I don't know. Everett is annoying sometimes, but I want him to live. I want them to make it. They love each other. But anyway, I guess we'll find out if he's gonna like still kill him or if he's gonna like chicken out. I don't know. We'll see. So Zeke is at Monet Nim's house. Diana walks in. She's like, you know, hey, what's up? What are you doing here? And Zeke is basically like, you know, Auntie Monet said that it was best for me to spend the night here because there's some weird dude out there that's like rolled up on me, is trying to say he's my dad and da-da-da. And Monet thought that it would be, you know, safer for me to spend the night here. And so when he says this, he's like, yeah, this dude named Dante, this light-skinned dude named Dante that said he was my dad. And like you could tell that like Diana kind of clocked that like Dante, the text message she saw on Monet's phone was from somebody named D, and it was saying we need to talk about him, and this Dante dude is saying that he's Zeke's dad. So like you could kind of see Diana's wheels low-key turning a little bit. So Davis is in a parking garage. He gets in his car, and boom, up pops Kane from the back seat with the blicky to his head. And he's like, you need to make sure that my name don't get wrapped up in this case. Like he got a ski mask on and all that stuff. And he's like, you need to make sure that the only person to go down in this case is Tariq St. Patrick. And Davis is like, at the end of the day, if you kill me, you're killing the only person that could possibly get you off. Like, I'm not going to say nothing. Tariq had the opportunity to give up the actual killer's name and he didn't say nothing. Like, as long as the money's coming in, I'm not saying nothing. And so Kane is like, good, that's what I like to hear, whatever. He gets out the car, and as Davis is driving away, he rolls down the window and he's like, tell your mom I said, hey, Kane. So he's like, you know, letting it be known that like, I know who you are. I know who you got this ski mask on and stuff. I know who you are. Like, let's be very clear. You are not hiding no identity, sir. And I'm just like, Kane, of course he knows who you are. Like, what are we doing here? What are we talking about? So anyway, at the end of the day, like, Kane, what did you do? Like, what did you even do just now but confirm for Davis McLean that you did it? Like, that's all you did was like solidify for him that you were the one that did this. You're not helping. So Monet comes home. She walks in her bedroom. Hubby is in there with a little robe on. It's rose petals everywhere, wine. It's like he just set the scene or whatever. And, you know, he's like, this is to make up for all the times you had to like come and do conjugal visits and da-da-da. And, you know, it's a little cute little romantic moment. Before Monet and her boo get busy or whatever, he asks her like, I need you to tell me like, are you still working with Tariq or whatever? Like, did you shut Course Correct down? And Monet is like, yes, we shut it down just like you said. Which, I mean, she's true. She's not working with Tariq, but she didn't shut Course Correct down. Course Correct is just shut down because they don't have any product. So, kind of the truth, kind of a lie. Probably gonna come back to bite her. We'll find out. While they're having their little romantic moment, we see some of Lorenzo's people and also some of Mecca's people. They're pulling up on some party and they're basically like, they pull up, they got like military grade weapons, sniper rifles with the red beam on them and stuff. And like, they're just fucking shit up. And basically my takeaway from this scene was, one, that Mecca's people and Lorenzo's people are working together, but also like, Mecca's people got like military grade weapons and training, and they're throwing grenades in there before they go in, and they got the red beam on the guns. And I'm like, oh, so Mecca's people are not just like hitters, they're like hitters. So that was my takeaway from that scene. Ultimately, at the end of that scene, one of the hitters sends a text message. It's to Lorenzo. Lorenzo and Manera sleep. Lorenzo's phone buzzes. He gets a text message from the hitter that's like, it's done. At the same time, Monet's phone buzzes. It's a text message from D, who is Dante, who is Mecca, and basically like, you know, can we talk? Or like, we really need to talk. So Cooper Saxe, Tamika, and Cooper Saxe's little boo thing pull up on Tariq at the dorm. They feel like they have the solution to his problems. They have found a way to get a deal for him. If he gives up the actual killer of Ramirez, then he's only gonna get a 5-year sentence, and his little sister is gonna go back to that specific foster family that she liked so much, only until their grandmother gets out of rehab. Once Granny gets out of rehab, Yasmin will go back to her, and they're like, this is perfect, solves all your problems. Like, yes, they're like, they literally bust in there like they was like, we figured it out. You know, Tamika's excited. She's like, yes, we did it. We figured it out. And Tariq is like, nah, I'm good. Like, he's literally just like, nah, I'm good. And Cooper Saxe and his boo thing are like, you gotta be f***ing kidding me. And Tamika is like, you know what, Tariq? Good luck in court, because you're gonna need it. And don't call me no more. Do we expect anything different from Tariq? Every time there's an opportunity for Tariq to not be the worst version of himself, he just shows that he is the worst version of himself. Like, he is committed to being the worst version of himself. Like, he's proven that. Like, he wants to be the worst possible version of himself that he can be. Like, so Cooper Saxe is chilling at a bar drinking, and Davis pulls up on him pissed that Cooper Saxe went behind his back to work with Tamika and the other lady on getting a deal and stuff. And he's like, you went behind my back and da-da-da. And Cooper Saxe is like, I mean, Tariq didn't take the deal, so it don't really matter. And so Davis is like, I mean, yeah, okay. Like, but he's like, we need to figure out what Lauren is gonna say on the stand so we can like prepare, you know, our defense or whatever. And he's like, who was her counsel, who was her legal counsel when she went in for questioning? And they pull out the paperwork and they look, and that's when they see that it was Carrie Milgram. And they're like, you gotta be kidding me. Because of course this is a clear conflict because of the fact that the original person accused in this murder was Zeke, who was Carrie Milgram's boo thing. Their whole case was that he killed Jabari for Carrie Milgram. And so the fact that Carrie Milgram was the person that conveniently allowed them to have this new suspect that's not Zeke, it's giving very much conflict of interest. So once Saxe and Davis see that, they're like, really? And so Davis ends up pulling up on Carrie Milgram. And because remember, they know each other. They apparently had a little thing back in the day. And, you know, we know that from a few episodes ago when Davis pulled up on her. And he pulls up on Carrie Milgram and he's like, man, like, you grimy for that. Like, you really like roped your student up in this, like, that was hella grimy of you. Like, you pretended to, you went under the guise of, like, being her counsel and, like, having her best interest at heart, but you had, like, your own agenda, basically. And so Carrie Milgram is like, look, at the end of the day, you just need to make sure that Tariq don't find out that Lauren did this, because, then Lauren's going to be in danger. Like, Tariq is dangerous. And I'm just like, girl, if you cared about Tariq being so dangerous and Lauren being in danger, you would have never got her to do this in the first place. You did not care about how dangerous Tariq was when you had this girl wearing a fucking wire around him. Like, what are we talking about, Carrie Milgram? What are we talking now? All of a sudden, you're so concerned about Tariq being dangerous and Lauren being put in danger. You literally put her in danger. You are the reason she's even involved in any of this at all. So Davis is like, look, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to get my client off at the end of the day. So whatever you talking about, her being in danger, whatever, I don't care. It's not looking good for Lauren. It's not looking good for sis. Like, from no end of it. Like, at every angle, sis, you're in danger. So Tariq and Kane meet up in an alleyway, and I was like, don't you have an ankle monitor on? Ain't you supposed to be at the campus at all times? But Tariq is like, I got 10 minutes before the police show up. And I'm like, as many times as Kane been to that campus, he could have just came to the campus. Like, I don't understand. But anyway, they meet up in this alleyway, and Kane is basically letting him know, like, look, we don't have no more product. Like, course correct, that's dead. Like, we don't have no more products. We don't have a connect. Like, our connect is not going to be able to give us product no more. It's a wrap. And so Tariq is like, what the hell? Like, how am I going to pay my lawyer? Like, if I can't pay Davis, he's not going to represent me. Like, I need the money from course correct to pay my lawyer. Like, what the hell? And Kane is basically like, look, I don't know what to tell you, but all I'm gonna say is, you smart, figure it out. It's plenty of money out here. It's more than one way to get it. And I'm just like, oh hell, Kane about to have him hitting licks, ain't he? He about to have Tariq St. Patrick hitting licks. Damn. This was a really good episode. I have so many predictions. Mark my words. One, Diana is definitely going to be the one to crack the case about Dante and Mecca and being Zeke's dad and her and Monet and all that. She's going to be the one to crack that case, and she's going to expose her mom, because we know that her and her mom is beefing right now. So that's definitely going to happen. My original prediction was definitely that Drew was going to kill Everett, but now I'm like, maybe he won't. Maybe he's gonna, like, chicken out and not do it, and then Lorenzo is gonna do it instead, and then that's gonna tear Drew and his dad apart. That could happen. I could see that happening. Or Lorenzo gets Kane to do it so that Drew is mad at Kane and doesn't realize that Lorenzo was the one that, like, ordered it to happen. That could be too. I don't know. Either one of those could be. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I also think Lauren is going to die. I 100% think Lauren is going to die. If she doesn't die, she's at least going to, like, get shot, and maybe we're going to think she's dead. Like, maybe, like, she's going to get shot in the last episode and we're not going to know that she made it until the next season or something. Like, something, like, serious is going to happen to Lauren, because it is going to come out that she had that wire on. Mark my words. And remember, like, her and Kane had that run-in. So that didn't just happen for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't for nothing that they had that run-in. Like, it's a reason that Kane and Lauren had a face-to-face run-in. So I don't know. Maybe Kane's gonna kill. I don't know. Like, y'all let me know. Let me know what y'all think. Power is one of them crazy series where, like, child, anything can happen. So who the fuck knows? But those are my predictions. I would love to hear y'all's predictions. And yeah, I'll see y'all back here for the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next video.